There's this strange phenomenon in nature called carcinization. Through all the different ways animals have evolved and through every single random mutation possible, animals always seem to evolve into crabs. If we accept the premise that every mutation that persists through generations has some sort of benefit to the species' survival, the convergent evolution of species into crabs indicates that a crab-shaped body is the optimal way to survive in nature. Crouching in Counter-Strike is awesome. It augments your movement, allowing you to both get into smaller spaces and jump onto higher ledges. Crouching allows you to shoot accurately while moving, and it completely silences all of your movement like how shift walking does. Crouching does a little bit of everything. But to crab walk everywhere wouldn't exactly be optimal. So when should you crouch and when should you not? One of the biggest mistakes in Counter-Strike is crouching for every fight. Another one would be to never crouch in any fights. You shouldn't only crouch at the beginning of fights, nor should you only crouch after the first few shots. Crouching is complicated, that's why you're watching this video. So let's start with the very basics of crouching and expand from there. Crouching does three things. It takes your character's standing height of 72 hammer units down to 54, or a 25% decrease. It significantly increases all forms of accuracy for all weapons, and also makes your guns accurate while moving, and it silences your footsteps, all at the cost of moving just a little bit slower. Now, these are attributes that everyone knows about, but what's more important to understand is the implications of each of these factors and how they interact with one another. Because although it is useful to know that crouching can allow you to get into small corridors or get up to slightly higher ledges, the real value of this decreased height is that you can dodge some very common sightlines with ease. This usually occurs when there is a substantial height difference between you and another player, creating angles in which the ground or the map geometry covers the smaller player model. Considering that Counter-Strike's time to kill is basically non-existent, being able to maneuver around these angles and pop up whenever you want for a kill is extremely powerful. Additionally, that slight reduction in height can throw off your opponent's crosshair placement, making your peaks that much more unpredictable. But you already knew that. That's just basic movement and positioning. What's not as talked about is that the reduced height brings your crosshair down with you. It's extremely useful when supplementing recoil control, as the lowering of the crosshair can help manage the vertical part of recoil without any mouse movement during the spray. On a side note, I don't think anyone believes this myth anymore, but I'll address it here in case anybody does. Crouching does not inherently make a weapon spray pattern tighter, it's the drop in crosshair that makes the vertical aspect easier, which in turn makes the spray pattern feel more controllable. This matters because it's convenient. Sure, you could and should learn how to do a full spray pattern while standing up, but there's nothing wrong with making the game a little bit easier for yourself, especially in high pressure situations where you need to spray down 2 or more people. But the drop in crosshair is not the only thing that crouching does. It also makes your guns more accurate in all situations. All guns in Counter-Strike suffer from bullet spread, where your bullets have a little bit of variance on where they are supposed to go, both for the first shot and for spraying. Even the AWP suffers from a little bit of randomness. Crouching does not completely fix the issue, but it does significantly reduce the amount of spread. This definitely affects tap firing more than spraying, since you're more likely to spray at close to medium ranges, where the random bullet spread won't impact your gunfights as often, but it's still a noticeable and appreciative effect. The more important aspect, however, is the almost perfect accuracy while moving. A central tenet of Counter-Strike's gameplay is the balance around poor accuracy while moving with the premier weapons of the game. This makes the instantaneous time to kill feel more fair, as you have to sacrifice your own ability to dodge bullets to shoot at an opponent. But we can just throw that away with crouching, as you will have both the movement and the accuracy in a fight. This leads to techniques like the donk slide, where you swing out wide for a gunfight but then crouch back into cover, maintaining perfect accuracy while simultaneously bringing yourself to safety. Another common use case for crab walking is for roles like entry fragging, where you need to simultaneously clear space for your team but also take the first duel with the enemies. If you stop in the middle of a rush, you end up blocking your teammates from helping you, but if you don't fight back, well, you're most likely dead. But with crab walking, you can take duels while still moving for your team, combining the best of both worlds. Obviously you shouldn't be crab walking everywhere, but get your helmet on, soldier. This video is sponsored by Gosu Academy. Gosu Academy provides some of the best resources to bring your Counter-Strike skills to the next level, such as live lessons and VOD reviews with some of the best Counter-Strike players in the world, weekly 10-man scrims guided by professional coaches, and a treasure trove of educational videos. Because not everybody learns to keep their head down in the trenches, but even under suppressing fire, there's a counter for everything. And if you use my code Wazoo in Gosu Academy, you can get a whole month of free coaching by the industry's best. So don't wait. Join Gosu Academy to reach your competitive Counter-Strike goals, and I hope to see you there, soldier. Since crouching also silences all of your footsteps, it is a great tool to use while on a lurk. You will see professional lurkers throw in crouches as it 1. Continues their silent push, 2. Throws off any defending crosshair placement, which is especially important when you're peeking slowly, and 3. Allows them to still be accurate while moving and clearing space. Not only that, crab walking also allows you to hold angles while moving without having to rely on counter-strafing perfectly, easing the mechanical requirements while playing solo. It's a small thing, but it does help lurkers catch timings without having to constantly stop to clear all angles. But the biggest takeaway from these 3 benefits is that crouching just makes the game easier. You don't have to worry as much about your enemy's crosshair placement, counter-strafing to be accurate, your spray pattern, pretty much everything that makes Counter-Strike difficult. So if crouching is so good, we should use it in all fights. No. Although carcinization suggests that we will all become crabs eventually, let's just enjoy being bipedal for a second. The reduction in movement speed is no joke, bringing your movement speed down to about a third of what it normally is for all weapons. This makes you comically easy to headshot, and the fact that your whole model is more compact when you crouch also makes it easy to spray you down. This means that while crouching does make it easier for you to shoot opponents, it also makes it really easy for opponents to shoot back. This is why you don't see pros crouching in a majority of their fights. Even if you secure the kill, once you give up your speed, there's very little chance of you getting out. To put simply, once you crouch, you are fully committing to the duel. Even with techniques like the donk peek mentioned earlier, it is still slower than just walking back to cover. Of course, there is the added benefit that you can shoot back, but without Donk's incredible spray control, there's a reason why the Donk slide's success is so hard to replicate. For most players, you're better off keeping your movement speed to jiggle peek or go for a reposition. But what if you're caught out? If you have no cover to hide behind, then isn't it better to crouch? There's quite a bit of nuance to this situation. It's probably for the best to crouch if the enemy's close to you to make your spray easier, but once the distance between you and your opponent gets further and further away, there is a debate on whether or not you should crouch. Crouching will give you better tap fire accuracy, which might be the difference between actually hitting your shots versus completely missing due to random bullet spread. But maintaining fast, unpredictable movement makes your opponents hit you less. It's a trade-off that is almost completely subjective, and you will see professional players opt for either solution all the time. Although crouching is one of the simplest concepts in Counter-Strike, the ability to incorporate all of the benefits while minimizing the negatives is one of the most fundamental aspects that separates good Counter-Strike players from great Counter-Strike players. There is nothing wrong with making the game easier for yourself, but you have to pay the price that crouching also makes the game easier for your opponents. But that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Other than that, I'll see you guys very soon.